Good morning, students. Today we will discuss chapter 2 of political science, grade 10th, that is federalism. Now let's start with the introduction of the chapter on page 14. Now we have to discuss here what is federalism. Now students, in federal system, power is divided between federal units. Thus, while in a federal state, both the central government and the state government derive their authority from the same constitution. But in a unitary state, students, state government derive their authority as delegated by central government. Students, federal setup is nothing but two independent levels of government or two independent bodies having sharing of power with the mutual consent in a written format of agreement. Now let us get back to our earlier chapter, power sharing, where we have discussed the case study of Belgium and Sri Lanka. So there we saw that in the last chapter, power sharing, there we have saw that, if you recall, that one of the key changes made in the constitution of Belgium was to reduce the power of the central government and to give these powers to the regional government. So they have amended their constitution. The Belgian constitution was amended 4 times in order to accommodate their regional diversity, their language diversity. But regional governments existed earlier also in Belgium. They had their own roles and powers also, but all these powers were given to these governments and could be withdrawn by the central government any time. So this was unitary system. The changes that took place, students, in 1993 in Belgium was that the regional governments were given now more constitutional powers that were no longer dependent on the central government. So this is federal system. This means Belgium shifted from a unitary to a federal form of government. But if you see your earlier chapter, Sri Lanka continues to be a unitary system of government, where the national government were having all the powers, and the Tamil leaders, they wanted Sri Lanka to become a federal system. So again I am repeating, in federal system, power is divided between federal units, while in a federal state, both the central government and the state government derive their authority from the same constitution. But in the unitary state, the state government derive their authority as delegated by the central government. So now we are talking about the federal system, we are talking about the unitary system. So now let's differentiate between the federal government and the unitary government. Now under federal government, student, the power is divided between a central authority and its various constituents unit. And in the unitary government, students, under this there is only one single government controlling all the powers. In a federal government, there is a division of subject, and in unitary government there is no division of subject. Under federal government, local government, they enjoy the freedom and they have some powers, but under unitary government, local governments do not enjoy any freedom or power. An example of federal government: India, USA, Australia, they have adopted federal system, and the unitary system is adopted by England, Japan, France, Italy, and China also, you can say, is the example of a unitary government. So federalism we have defined, it is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. So a federation has 2 levels of government, student. One is the government for the entire country, that is usually responsible for few subjects of common national interest. Other is the government at the level of states, that look after much of the day-to-day administration of their state, and both these levels of government enjoy their power independent of the other. So here we have defined federalism, we have given introduction, and we have differentiated between federal and unitary. Now moving to page 15, students. So earlier we have explained the meaning of federalism, we have given the introduction of the chapter, and we have related the chapter with the power sharing also. And so in this sense, students, federations are contrasted with unitary government. We have seen under the unitary system, either there is only one level of government or the subunits are subordinate to the central government, means they work under the control of the central government, and central government can pass on orders to the state or the local government. But in the federal system, the central government cannot order the state government to do something. State government has power of its own, for which the state is not answerable to the central government, and both of these governments are separately answerable to the people. Now on the same page only, students, that is page 15, we have to see the features of federalism. So let's talk about the first feature of federalism. First feature says there are two or more levels, that is tiers of government. So we have central government, we have state government, and the local government. Earlier, when our constitution was enacted, at that time we were having only two levels. But now after 1992 amendments, local tier is also attached to our system. So it means, according to this feature, your country will be a federal when there are two or more levels of government. So this is the first feature. Second, different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation, and administration. Different tiers of government means central government and the state government. They will govern the same citizen. Citizens are same. We have a concept of single citizenship in our country. So we have different tiers, central government and state government. They will govern the same set of citizens. But each tier of this government, they have their own authority, they have their own jurisdiction, their authority in specific matters. Their areas are divided where they will be having the jurisdiction. Suppose if any citizen of this country, they want to avail the passport, then passport comes under the jurisdiction of the union government. We'll apply the passport in the regional office of our state, and then after all the verification is done, then the union government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they will issue us the passport. And if we want any other document like license or any other card, so that can be made by our district administration very easily. So in India, suppose we are living in Punjab, then the person will be citizen of a state and country also. So this citizen will obey the guidelines issued by the state government also and the central government also. So citizen is same, but now each tier has its own jurisdiction. Okay, the area over which they have all these tiers, they have legal authority. Now in specific matters like in foreign affair, currency related issues, these are handled by the central government, and within that jurisdiction the citizens will be governed also. And like defense related issues, foreign affairs, these are governed by central government. So I have told you, so citizens are same, but the different governments govern these citizens differently according to their jurisdiction. Third is the jurisdiction of the respective levels or the tiers of government are specified in the constitution. So all the powers and jurisdiction of the central and the state government, they are specified in the constitution, so that there should not be any conflict. The existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. So all the powers are divided and backup is also provided constitutionally. Fourth point, the fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of the government. Such changes require the consent of both the levels of the government. Now, both the central and the state government, they can make laws on education. It is a constitutionally granted also, because this is according to the concurrent list. Suppose now think about if all the powers were given to the central government, Then the central government, they can change the constitution and they can say that state government now has no power. So our constitution makers, students, they forecasted this thing before only, and they made the provision that the fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally, that is, cannot be changed by one level of the government. Such changes require the consent of both the levels of the government. So one government can't change the constitutional provisions. Otherwise, if they can do easily, then there will be hegemony, there will be dominance, especially by the one group over the other. So both the levels of the government consent is required to make changes in the constitution. After this, students, now the fifth point, the fifth feature is courts have power to interpret the constitution and the powers of different levels of government. Now who will interpret the meaning of the provisions of the constitution? So it's judiciary. Judiciary know better what is written in the constitution. It's legal provisions. So what are the powers of the union government, state government, everything is mentioned clearly in our constitution. So judiciary can easily interpret these powers. And the highest court acts as an umpire also if any dispute arises between different levels of the government in the exercise of their respective powers, like dispute between central government and state government, or between two state governments, or between the local government and the state government, will be resolved by judiciary. So courts acts as a umpire, that is a neutral person. Sixth feature is sources of the revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. That is, ability to manage their funds, their financial affairs independently. So if revenue, students, will not be there, then how the central government or the state government will work? So sources of revenue of the central and the state government are specified separately, so that both these governments are independent in their financial matters. Like this, all the income tax department, they comes under this union government, and then state government revenue comes from income, sales and taxes, and all this custom duties, income tax, excise duty, they come under the union government. Union excise duty, that is the duty on the manufactured goods. Then we have custom duties, that is the duty levied upon which goods are imported in the country. So all these are the sources which come under the union government. Now is the seventh feature, that is a federal system thus has dual objectives. First, to safeguard and promote the unity of the country. Second, at the same time, we have to accommodate regional diversity also. Students, you know India has enormous cultural diversity. States like Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Maharashtra, if you see, they have different culture, language, traditions, but still we are united under the unified umbrella of India, because each state has their own set of separate powers. So we have accommodated our regional diversity also. Now the same page, students, that is page 15. Now earlier we have discussed the features of federalism. Students, the exact balance of power between central and state government, they varies from one federation to another. And there are two routes through which federations was formed. So now we have to discuss those two routes or the types of federalism. So first is coming together federation. In this, independent states, they come together on their own to form a bigger unit. So by pooling their sovereignty and retaining their identity, they can increase their security. So sovereignty means the full authority on internal and external decisions. So when so many states, they will come together, then they will pool, that is they will club their sovereignty and maintain their identity, and by coming under one union, they will increase their security. And states usually have equal powers and are more strong in the federation. Example, USA, Switzerland and Australia, they are following this system of coming together federation. Second is, students, holding together federation. Here the large country, they decides to divide its power between the constituent states and national government. So here the central governments tends to be more powerful than the state. Here the source of power is government, that is the union government, and union government is diluting the power downward. So central government is more powerful in holding together federation. Next point within this, the constituent units, they have unequal power. Some units are granted special powers and some states can be given special power, special status. Like for example, according to Article 370, Kashmir was having special powers in our constitution, but now this Article 370 is abolished, so now Kashmir is not having any special powers. And the examples of holding together federation is India, Spain and Belgium.